Good morning, Marilyn.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm doing great.
It's good to see you. You know, most Liberians and Episcopalians, they know of your late husband, Edgar Bolling Robertson. Everybody knows about him. And they also know about Mother Robertson, the wife of this man who impacted the lives of so many young Liberian boys and girls and transformed them from boys and girls to men and women. As the old saying goes, behind every successful man, there is a woman. And you joined your husband in his life's work in Liberia. But you also impacted the lives of all of these young people that came through the school. And we know that Bolling came to Liberia at the age of 26 in 1946. He was 26 years old when he came. When did you come to Liberia?
I came in 1959.
59. Aha. So Bolling was already there.
Oh, yes.
You met him there. The campuses were already rolling.
Yes.
Things were going on. When did you get married?
1962. We got acquainted on the campus and talked about marriage, but we didn't actually make the date and settle it all until we got to the U.S. Both of us were taking furlough at the same time.
So then you took the furlough to America and got married in America.
Right.
I see. When you came to Liberia, that was the first time you met Bolling.
Right.
He was a complete stranger to you. You guys had never met before, didn't plan to meet in Liberia. Okay. And then after that, you got to know each other, and then you decided to get married. The thing I've always wondered about is, what made you come to Liberia? What was it about this place? Did you come as a visitor, or did you come as a missionary to Liberia?
I came hoping to be a missionary. I'll put it that way. I grew up with a mother and father who had been in China, and they were full of stories of what it was like to be a missionary in China.
In China, okay. Your parents?
My parents. So I grew up with the thought that, I wonder if God wants me to be a missionary. And I kept thinking, well, maybe yes, maybe no. And when the message came through, oh yes, that's for you, I would be, oh wow, great, happy. And then sometimes I would go, oh, no, please not that. It was one or the other. But I got to college, and while I was at college, there was a change in things in China. The communists took over.
Okay.
And so I said to God, well, I guess you don't want me in China. They're not receiving missionaries in China these days.
So the thought came to you that possibly you would also go to China as a missionary before you came to Liberia because of your parents. I see.
So when China was closed, I said, oh, I guess I'm not a missionary. So I got married.
So you got married because I'm not a missionary, so I'm just going to get married.
It lasted 3 months.
Okay, so that was your first marriage. Oh, wow. And it lasted for 3 months. Okay, so that ended.
And then I went to live in San Jose with my sisters. And I got to going to a church there. And every Lent, the church picks up one mission field and emphasizes it in the Sunday school.
Okay.
So I was teaching a 4th grade class of boys in this church, living with my sisters. And for the first time, I got acquainted with Liberia because that was the emphasis that Lent for the church's mission.
Huh.
I said, oh.
Episcopal Church. Yeah. Okay. That's how you found out about Liberia?
That's how I found out about Liberia. And it was my job to get these fourth grade boys interested in Liberia.
Really?
I will never know if I got them interested, but I got myself interested.
Wow. So, interesting. Interesting. So, following that, how did you continue to pursue this idea?
The Bishop of Nevada was behind it and decided that if I was going to be a missionary, I had to have more training for it. And right there at Berkeley, California, was a school, ESP, Church Divinity School of the Pacific, training priests. And next to it was St. Margaret's House, training women for Christian education.
Oh.
So with his help, I became a student at St. Margaret's House. And I was there for 2 years and graduated.
It was in Oakland, California?
Berkeley, California.
Berkeley, okay.
And from there, I was ready to go to Liberia. And the overseas department was interested, but they said, you haven't had any experience here doing Christian education, have you? No. So I had to get 2 years experience first.
Okay.
And that took me to Grand Rapids, Michigan. So I spent 2 years there getting some experience as a Christian educator at a big parish.
Uh-huh.
And for a while, it seemed like, oh, this is fun. And I thought, I better forget about Liberia. This is too much fun. Then they wrote me a letter. They said, 2 years ago, you applied for Liberia, and we turned you down so you could get some experience. We need you now. Do you apply again?
Wow.
So I had to take that to prayer.
You had to pray on that.
And it turned out that God was saying, well, you never know, you never try. You never try, you never know.
You never try, you never know. Yeah.
So I said, okay, I've got to try. So I got myself ready. And my parents were interested in helping me, of course.
To come to Liberia?
Yeah.
Wow.
In fact, while I was there for my first tour, they both came for a visit.
Huh.
So it was family ordained as well as God ordained, I think, that I'd come to Liberia.
Because, I personally have always been curious about that beginning. How did she decide that this is a place to come to? Now, the church, though, in those days was the church, meaning the Episcopal Church, was the one doing all of this recruiting.
Right.
And finding the appropriate people, making sure they were trained properly and all of that. And so you went through that whole process before coming. Very interesting. So you arrived in Liberia. Of course, you arrived in Monrovia because by then I would imagine Robertsfield was already open.
I didn't fly. I came by boat.
You came by boat? Ah. You traveled by boat. Was it one of those Farallline boats?
It was
Oh, Delta Lines, one of those. Farallline, Delta Lines. Wow. Okay. So you arrived in Monrovia. The Freeport, of course, was open at the time.
Yes.
And then, of course, you were welcomed in Monrovia by the then Bishop Harris?
Bishop Harris.
Bishop Harris was bishop then. And so he, of course, made you feel comfortable and all of this. Did you know already where in Liberia you were going to go to?
He's the one that decided and sent me to Robertsport.
Okay.
So I had my first experience on one of these little one-engine airplanes.
Oh, yeah. And you landed on the beach?
Landed on the beach.
Just like we did when we came. So you landed on the beach too, on the steel mat?
Yes.
Right in Robertsport. Wow. So.
And at the moment that I arrived, Bolling was still he'd gone on a furlough trip around the world.
Ah.
And people kept saying, he's going to find a wife. That's why he's going on that trip, to find a wife.
You're kidding me. So, because he was a single guy, nice looking guy, he had everything going, running a good operation there. So people believe he took that trip around the world so he could find a wife.
I think so.
Okay.
A lot of people think so.
Not knowing that upon his return, he would meet this girl from Nevada.
There I was.
Is that right? So then he returns. But when you arrived, how did you find these campuses? You had
Well, there was
House of Bethany.
House of Bethany.
You had the elementary school there.
There.
Then you had the St. John's campus.
Well, when I first arrived, the high school had not been
It had not been built because I think that was finished in 1959. I think 58, 59, somewhere there, or 69.
Well, it was very soon after I got there. But my first year of teaching was in the high school, but at the elementary school.
Okay, and that's where the high school was.
Yes.
On the Bethany campus.
Right.
And it was in the building now that's occupied by the elementary school.
That's right.
Okay, and that's where the high school was when you came.
Right.
So, how did you find the campuses? Yeah, I mean, you got. We talk about the Dr. Abiru Jones talked about the three things that the church focused on when it went into Capemount. You know, the teaching, the preaching, and the healing. The teaching was in the schools, the elementary and the high school. The preaching was at Irving Memorial, the church.
Yeah.
And the healing was at St. Timothy's Hospital.
Yeah.
And all of those three things together created this wholesome, productive environment for scores and scores of us. So how were these campuses? How were things when you got there?
Well, it was, I didn't know how people were able to go so quickly from one campus to the other. I wasn't a quick person.
You weren't, but you learned, huh? All that walking.
I had to learn,
Yeah. From Bethany and back and forth. The girls had to do it, everybody had to do it at some point, right?
Well, first of all, it was the boys had to come over.
For school.
Right. But then the girls went there for church.
Right.
And then when the high school got finished, everything moved there for the high school.
Right.
And then the elementary school kind of developed in that.
Okay. Grew out of the former high school building. Okay. And so, I mean, both campuses were bustling. I mean, they were both bustling with students. Bethany had several grades of young ladies.
From all the way from, I think they started in 7th grade, I think.
And I see some pictures. I mean, it looked like some of them in elementary. Some of them were, even pre-7th grade.
But if they were elementary, it was, we did have some elementary kids.
Uh-huh.
But they were probably the children of some of the adults.
Okay.
Who were there to monitor and look after the girls. And everybody needed a little child to run here and there for.
Of course. Yeah. To sell messages. Yeah. Interesting. So you resided on the Bethany campus.
Right. And I was residing with Mrs. Mary and Miss Barnaby.
C.C. Barnaby. So you met C.C. Barnaby there?
Right. The three of us lived together.
Mary who?
Mrs. Sarah Mary.
Sarah Mary.
Yeah.
C.C. Barnaby.
Yeah.
And Marilyn Robertson.
Except I was Keene then.
Marilyn Keene, correct. That's the name before Robertson. Marilyn Keene. And so the three of you lived in that big building?
Oh, yes. Well, part of it was an office.
Part of that building was an office?
Yeah.
Okay.
Underneath was a lot of storage.
Okay.
And then we each had our own bathroom and bed and nice big living room and dining room and a lot of kitchen area for what was the name of that man?
Your cook?
Yeah.
You're trying to remember his name. But you had
old age is a terrible thing.
Well, they call that senior moment.
Well, anyway, he was fun to be with, and he was a good cook. And the first morning at breakfast, he comes up to us, the three ladies sitting on the porch.
Okay.
And he says to me, "You away?" And I shake my.
What do you say?
I shake my head and look at the other ladies, and they're laughing. He's asking you if you want an egg.
So this was your start of learning Liberian English.
Yes, that's how it started.
So, wow. So you had adequate help, you had adequate accommodation, all that stuff, and so St. John and Bowling lived on the St. John's campus
Definitely, yes. In the
in the
big,
big Robinson building.
right.
Okay, now he tells the story. He told the story. He told me that that building served as the reception hall for the newly elected inaugurated president of Liberia, William V.S. Tubman. Tubman's first visit outside of Monrovia was to Robertsport, and he was entertained by Bowling in that house.
I can believe that.
Yeah, and wow. So, so then you know, what are some of the things that some of the tasks that you undertook? You met C.C. Barnaby there. Of course, she was doing the chemistry, the geometry, the algebra, all three of which I took with her. I'm not sure what Mary was doing.
Mostly the English.
Okay, she was teaching English. And so what did you begin doing?
I was afraid you were going to ask that. They discovered that I had taken a couple of years of Latin in college.
Ah,
And in those days, we were teaching some Latin.
my father told me he had Latin when he was there. You know, he graduated in 42. So when you got there, they were still offering Latin in the curriculum.
Yeah. And I don't think I did too well because the Latin I took at my college, it didn't do anything with grammar.
Okay.
All it did was teach you to read about the Roman wars
Okay.
in Latin.
Okay. Okay.
So I tried to teach Latin, but I don't think it did. I worked very well.
Yeah.
So a couple of years of trying, and all of a sudden the school decided to drop the Latin. I think I was responsible for that.
You were the reason, huh? They gave up on that, huh? Oh my goodness, interesting. So, but you know, we had did you have a GFS there?
Oh yes.
You had a GFS.
Miss Barnaby was
Girls Friendly Society.
Yes, she was very strong leader in that. Barnaby
with GFS.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't remember how it all began, but pretty much when Bolling and I got married, then we had this house in Robertsport, and I was able to buy a piano. Up until then, I didn't do much with music because we had a choir at church who was doing everything needed as far as the students were concerned. But Bolling was very interested in having special music every year for the pageant, if you remember that.
Of course,
And so it kind of fell on me to find some special music for the different scenes of the pageant. And that took me back to my early days as a piano player. But it worked. I conferred with Bolling, and I conferred with Mrs. Mary and Miss Barnaby and everybody else, and got everybody's ideas. And one thing Bolling said, every year he wanted the students to learn the words to a new hymn. So during the pageant, we had to practice this one hymn and make sure we all knew that, all the students and the teachers knew that particular hymn. And that was a new hymn every year. And that was fun. Then we got to the point where the students were sort of ready, I thought, for some choral work. So I had taken a course when I was in the States on conducting a chorus. So I said, let me try. So I was standing there in front of the student body. Everybody in the student body was in the chorus. And Irene Lawrence had come. And she was a musician too.
Yes.
So I had a good sidekick with her. And we worked together on a lot of fun things to make life more beautiful, more colorful, I think. Yeah. And every pageant had to have its new music so that we learned something new for every pageant.
So one of your students is Ernie Bruce, who is sitting right next to you there. He just continued his music training and earning both a master's and a bachelor's degree in music from the South Illinois University in the United States. Did you know back then, interacting with him, that Mr. Bruce will go on to earn degrees in music?
Uh, I didn't know, but I saw the potential. And there were other people on campus with me who also saw that potential. John. Another senior moment. Anyway, there was another man on campus who also saw the talent. So together, we encouraged him to sing all sorts of
Messiah, Green Hill, Far Away. I mean, all of this stuff.
How did he do back then?
He was good. He was very, very good. And the John and Irene.
Oh, Irene Lawrence. Irene who? No,
Irene Lawrence.
Mm-hmm.
She came along later, but she was also interested in. I think you'd graduated by then, had you?
Irene Lawrence was in the ensemble with us.
That's right.
She had a recorder ensemble.
That's right.
She played the guitar also.
And we also had her doing a quartet.
That's correct.
And you were in that quartet.
I was in that quartet.
Okay, yeah.
With Nat Davis, Inez Yancey,
yeah.
her, you.
I don't think I sang in that quartet.
Oh, no.
I played my recorder.
There was a quartet that Judy Bryan was in.
That's
me,
right.
Judy Bryan, Nat Davis.
Right.
And I think Oswald Shaw. I think it was.
Yeah. And she was good at directing that.
Yes.
And she did it without any instrument. She was good at getting people to sing together, just listening to each other, and not having an instrument behind them.
Yeah. You played a flute as well?
Yes.
I have something I wanted to show. Can I get it? You saved this. You saved my original manuscript.
Yeah. I couldn't bear to throw it out.
From 1967. And these were written for one of the pageants. This one is called La Création, the creation. We did that. We also did, this one is called The Exodus. And I remember, the children of Egypt, the big Exodus, this music was played, for that. This is another one called African Sunset. And this was written in 1968, the year before I graduated. And you gave these to me in America. I had goosebumps to look at this stuff.
I couldn't believe you didn't carry them. I couldn't believe you didn't carry them, but I'm glad I did.
Yes. So she had me composing music. Yeah.
Well, in 1971, the bishop of the Episcopal Church reassigned Bolling to Capemount College in Capemount County as an interim president. How did that transition slide after having been in Robertsport for so long?
It was a foreign country.
It was. I like the way you say that. That's so true.
It was but it was quite an adjustment, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Wow.
So what was Capemount like back then? What was it like?
Well, everybody had their nose in the air.
Wow, totally different environment. Huh?
It really was. And at first, the bishop wanted us there. Well, actually, our appointment there came after Bishop Brown was the new bishop, and Baker stepped down from Cuddington.
Christian Baker,
who
was president
of Cuddington. He resigned.
Okay.
And left Cuddington without left a vacuum. Bishop came to Bolling and said, "If you will go and be interim president of Cuddington for 1 year to give me a chance to find the one I want, I promise you that you and Marilyn will get a whole year of study in the U.S. after that year."
And then what? And then come back to St. John's, to Robertsport?
That was not clear.
Okay.
Whatever was needed when we got, that was it.
Okay.
Well, we were interested in further because I wanted some more degree bowling. got a doctorate while he was there, and I got a Master of Divinity while I was there. And it was a good atmosphere for learning and enjoying. And Bishop Hart was there as a student.
The current bishop.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
He was kind of the favorite of the institution, the rector there.
Okay.
Jellicoe Bright was also there.
Jellicoe Bright.
In fact, we called Jellicoe the Holy Spirit.
Really?
Because the Holy Spirit's everywhere, right?
Yes.
And everywhere we went, there was Jellicoe. Oh, it was Jellicoe. Hi, Jellicoe.
Wow.
He was everywhere.
He was everywhere. Oh, wow. Wow.
So when did you and Bolling retire to return to the United States? And where did you settle in the United States?
Well, when Doe took over the government,
1980.
yeah, things really felt different. We weren't frightened because we knew there had been an order that no matter what, you don't trouble the foreigners. We'd heard that. But it was a different feeling. And Bolling had reached retirement age. So we looked at each other and said, what do you do when you retire? You go home. A lot of missionaries don't. They stay on after retirement, and they're still very, very capable and helpful, and we thought maybe we could do that. But I think Doe changed it. And we felt as though we had been there so long together, we couldn't just get on an airplane and go. We had to go slow. So we got our act together, put our cat and our dog in the car, and drove across the Sahara Desert to make the trip slowly.
That's how you left?
That's how we left.
Wow. You took that Land Rover or you?
No, we bought a new Renault.
Okay, a Renault.
From Belgium.
Okay.
And it was supposed to have a radio, but by the time it got to Liberia, the radio was gone. Also, it was supposed to have tubeless
tires.
No, tires with tubes.
Okay.
Because tubeless on the desert don't work.
Oh my goodness.
They were not tube tires.
So we praised God and bought tires for all with tubes.
Yeah.
So we knew we would have a safe journey, and we did. We had a safe journey across the Sahara Desert.
So where did you settle in the U.S. when you got back?
That was hard to decide, but at first Bolling said, where do you want to go, Marilyn? And I had been in touch with some people in California that were wanting a Christian educator. And I hadn't reached retirement age. I'm 12 years younger than he.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So I was in correspondence with these people in California about being a director of Christian education in a parish there. And somehow or other, nothing clicked. So I said, I don't want to go to California. I'll stay here. Whatever you decide to do here, I'll do with you. So Bolling decided we'll buy a house because he had saved his money all his life.
Mm-hmm.
He had a nest egg that was big enough to buy a house. Mm-hmm. It was a nice 4-bedroom house.
Yeah. Mechanicsville?
In Mechanicsville, which was kind of a suburb of Richmond, a quiet suburb. Yeah. And it was near a high school, and we had called the Tarpeys because we knew that with Doe in power in Liberia and then Charles Taylor coming along, that young boys were in danger. Young boys here were kidnapped, given drugs, and turned into soldiers against their will. So we knew that the Tarpeys had a young boy, young Tia, was still in school here in Liberia. And since we had a house now with 4 bedrooms, we called them and said, aren't you afraid that Tia is going to be captured and turned into a soldier? Send him to us. We'll look after him for a year. So they did. They sent him to us. And that was a wonderful year for us. We enjoyed him very much.
The young Tia Tarpe.
Young Tia Tarpe.
Okay.
And he's kept in touch.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons Eddie says I'm more than welcome here is because that whole year we took care of Tia.
Yeah.
Anyway.
You became his parents then, his guardians at that point. Yeah.
So after 7 years of retiring in the States, you decided to come back?
Yeah. We were there about 20 years, and we were enjoying it thoroughly.
Driving around.
We had a RV. We would drive all over the U.S. We drove to Alaska. We drove to Mexico, and every summer we had a nice trip in this RV. Then we heard that Judy Bryant was the new interim president. Judy was a kind of a favorite student of Bolling's. So he said, what do we do now? Why don't we go back? It's safe now. There's no more war. So we came back. And we went to Robertsport to see what was available in terms of a house, and they were all destroyed. But the one that was the least destroyed was the Barnaby one.
Barnaby Cottage, yes.
So with Old Man Coleman's help, we got it refurbished, and we had sold the house in Mechanicsville. Bolling had a lot of family furniture in storage. And when we moved to that house, it all came out of storage and got placed in the house. So when we were going to come back to Liberia, there was no sense hauling all that furniture here. We didn't want it. We didn't know who did. We called in all the relatives, said, look and see what you want among all this. Some of it was antique furniture, some of it was just good furniture. So they all made the selection and carried it. And then they were having a sale, a yard sale over at the church, which was 1 block away. So we went all through the house, and everything else that we couldn't use in Liberia, we took it to the sale. So we each packed 2 suitcases and went back to Liberia, period. That's all we took. And we've been happy.
I know.
So Bolling passed away in 2006, and was interned at the top of the mountain in Robertsport on the location ground. Yeah. Who made the decision to bury him on the mountain at the highest point in Robertsport?
He wanted to be buried there. He had always looked upon that as a special spot. He would often take a bottle of water and go there and spend the day in meditation and prayer and then come back. And he took the students up there once every year. So it's called Rogation Ground, because on Rogation Day is the day of asking. He took the students there and taught them about asking God for a good harvest, for rain. So here we were praying for rain. And then it rained sometimes when we got back. Got all wet.
Yeah.
But I remember on the day we buried Bolling, up there, we had a lot of rain. If you remember, we all went up to the summit, and folks had their shoes off. I mean, it was like a pilgrimage. It was pretty moving. I wish we had some footage of that day and Bolling burial. So Rogation Ground, I was telling him about it and the significance of it and how we have recorded names. All of our names are on the rocks. I think my father's name is also on one of those rocks.
It was quiet. It encouraged prayer. So it felt like a holy place, even when the students were making a mess. It still was a very special place.
At that time, to maintain the location of Bolling's grave, what are the plans?
What are the plants around it?
Yes. Are there any plans to maintain the location of Bolling's grave?
Well, no. I was been working on it for all these years between, but every time I wanted to do something up there, people told me that I'm a foreigner, and foreigners can't own land in Liberia. Therefore, I can't own the property and do anything with it. So I sent boys up constantly to keep it clean and keep the grave painted, and if possible, keep the plantings around it. And Eli Gray was one of those that was very faithful. Eddie also paid some people to go up there. So a lot of people paid people, young people, to go up and look after the grave and the grounds. And finally, the other day, I was talking to Councilor Sherman.
Bonnie Sherman.
Bonnie Sherman. And he said, yes, as a foreigner, you cannot own property, but a foundation can. And he says, I would like to see us form a foundation, a memorial foundation, because the memorial foundation can own the property. And then we can do something to make it a memorial to Bolling. So we're working on that. It's the beginning stages. And this tape, I think, is going to be very helpful in that process.
So now, as you now prepare to return to the U.S., once again, what are your plans for the future?
Well, I only have a few more years. I'm going to be good, so I get to heaven. What else to say? Right now, I'm thinking of going to live with my sister, my younger sister. She's 18 months younger than I am. The older sister I was with for 5 years. And that's how I lost touch in Robertsport. I was gone 5 years to be with my older sister. And when she died, I said, oh, what do I do now? Well, try to go back to Liberia. But I'd been gone for 5 years.
Right.
And it was, I didn't give people enough time to prepare a place for me. But that's okay, because I don't think God wanted me here anyway. I think God wanted me in the States, but working along with people in the States as well as here to make that a memorial ground. And Abiosa Flemister is one of the people on the foundation.
Okay.
So she and I are good friends, and we'll work together and keep things moving. And I know Councilor Sherman will keep things moving, and I know you will keep things moving. So I think there's a lot of hope that we will have a memorial ground up there that will be very special. I'm not sure how it will be special, because the foundation will decide how to make it special.
Thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate it. Those are all the questions. Is there anything else you would like to add?
Thank you. This has been fun.
Yeah, of course. And
get to capture
yeah, we felt it was important to have your own words.
Thank you.
And your story is quite enlightening. I just learned some new stuff today that I had to know.
Well, what if I would just ask, what maybe one or two things that is most memorable of the time you spent the sacrifice, in Liberia, just looking back at it all? I mean, obviously meeting your husband was a milestone in the entire process. But is there anything else you were just dealing with the students and the Liberian society?
Well, I will say that the music program and the music students made it a very special experience. I remember I had learned in this college course how to direct a choir in singing. What's that part of the Messiah about the birth?
Not the chorus. You mean one of the arias?
Yeah. Well, no, it's a chorus part, but it's just talking about the birth.
Not he shall feed his flock. No. Anyways.
Having an opportunity to stand in front of this group of students who were loving singing and had practiced and practiced and practiced and were ready to really give it all their all at one of our, I think it's a pageant or a very important program.
At the at the Monrovia City Hall. You remember? We did a big concert at the Monrovia City Hall. She didn't tell you that she had me making instruments too. Remember? She had me building my own instruments, composing the music to be played on those instruments, tuning the piano, the African piano to the piano. And I mean, you remember? And she discovered this. We call it the umbrella tree. The tree that has the leaves like that. That wood is very resonant when it's dry. And she had me. I would tune the pieces and we'll develop a scale that I played. We were doing all that kind of stuff, building my own instruments, helping her tune the piano. And she would put an incandescent bulb in the piano to keep it dry because the humidity would cause the piano to warp. And she would be in there with her wrench tuning the piano herself. So it was. So I can see, the music did play a very important part in her contributions. And of course, you can see what it did to me. I mean, it's my whole foundation and what I am today. I owe a lot to her and that inspiration, that spark. Because I don't know if I told you, the person who had me believe and realize that I had a gift to sing was Father Baker, J.D.K. Baker, my granduncle. He wrote hymns.
I heard that.
He did. And when I was about 6, 7 years old on Snapper Hill in Monrovia, where he lived, he would be upstairs on his pump organ, composing. And when he had to write parts, he would call me and my cousins to come up to his study. We'd come up and we'd stand around the organ and he would give each one a part. And he would put a nickel on top of the organ. The first person to learn his part got the nickel. And guess who won the nickel all the time? I always won the nickel. And it just dawned on me, wow, this is fun. You mean I can really do this? And so that's when I developed this keen sense of, opening my mouth and doing stuff that pleases people's ears. And I got to Robertsport. She had me singing Handel's Messiah. I was still in high school. And so I can understand how the music played a very, very important part in all of our lives, in music. And that's what we're trying to do here in Liberia right now to emphasize how important the arts and music is to any environment, any culture, any group of young people. And but we had all of this so many, many, many years ago. And but I want to say thanks to you all in this formal way. Thanks to you. And this now can be shared, and you can have a tool also to take back with you. And we have document. We're going to submit a copy of this to the archives.
That's what I would do.
We will.
But you will. Okay.
Yeah. Well, but they need to have a copy because I know you did. You did.
Oh, yeah.
You did submit a lot of things to the archives.
16 boxes full of stuff from Liberia went to the archive.
Wow.
When we moved.
All of the photographs that we used in the documentary of the schools that I did in America were gotten from the archives, and it was through her instrumentality. In fact, when I came to visit you in Mechanicsville, you were already packing.
Yeah.
To send things to the archives. Yeah. I remember that very well. Yeah. But thank you, Marilyn. Thank you.
Very special.
Okay.